And I Quote is bringing you expert-to-expert advice and insights. Our thought-provoking conversations with insurance industry professionals will inspire and educate our listeners on the latest trends and hot topics.
Let's move our industry forward together. The And I Quote podcast is brought to you by Coterie Insurance. Coterie is simplifying the way agents work with small business.
Now let's get started. Hello, I'm Ashleigh Burden, and welcome to this episode of the And I Quote podcast. Today, I'm really excited to chat with our guest, Carl Ruppel. He's a commercial account executive at Remco Insurance Services. And Carl just has a really great story. He's been a great partner of Coterie for some time. So really excited to jump into the discussion today. So Carl, welcome to the podcast. Happy to have you.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you would like, can you tell our listeners just a little bit about yourself and what brought you to the insurance industry?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. So I feel like a lot of people, kind of like myself as well, don't wake up one day and just say, hey, I want to be an insurance agent. Or, when you grow up, everyone says, hey, I want to be a fireman or I want to be an astronaut. You don't say, hey, I want to be an insurance agent. So yeah. I'd actually been doing hospitality management before, went to school for hospitality, had been working for Marriott after school as a sales manager and an operations manager. And then COVID hit, March of 2020, and the whole world shut down, and Marriott didn't need salespeople. So I was down in Maryland and moved back up here and was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I had a friend that had interned at an insurance company and had lived with me over a summer while I was in college. And I reached out to him and said, why don't you try the insurance industry and see how you like it. And I hit it off with the branch manager at the place that he worked at, and went from there. So I was at that location doing home, auto, and life insurance for about 2 years, and then decided, I like the insurance industry, but I think I want something that's a little bit more relationship based and not always about the price and about giving good value to my clients. So transitioned over to commercial insurance about 2 years ago, and here we are. It's been almost 4 years now.
Amazing. That's awesome. And I think your story probably resonates with a lot of people in our audience because, as you mentioned, some people do fall into insurance. Others, kind of it comes, in the family line, so to speak. But I think it's interesting that COVID really did present this new opportunity. And I would say like a renewed interest in, pivoting to an industry like insurance. I think it's really cool to see that you made that transition pretty easily. So thinking about that transition into small commercial specifically, you kind of mentioned more relationship based, but what specifically about commercial really interests you, and what areas of opportunity are there, would you say, for commercial?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say one thing that makes it really interesting is every day is a little different. I can be working with, let's say, a small contractor or, mom and pop restaurant. Mm-hmm. It can be the exact same one as one right down the street, same food, same type of staff, same type of, business operations, but it can be totally different when it comes to insurance. Does this place have losses? Does this place, serve alcohol? Does this place, do delivery? So there's a lot of different things, and each business and each risk is a little bit different. So I love just seeing the challenge of, okay, I have to do it this way, or maybe Coterie or maybe another carrier can't do this, so I got to go place it somewhere else. So it's keeps things interesting, and you get to meet some really cool people, and you get to see some really cool industries that you really never would have thought of. Be like, wow, this is how people make a living, and you wouldn't really think about that unless you're really kind of in the weeds when it comes to the insurance side of things.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I think that's one of the things I like about small commercial too, like small business owners, entrepreneurs in general, but they have a lot of passion for what they do, and even their stories of what brought them into entrepreneurship. So I think that just translates really well into, it being a relationship-based business and being able to really connect with small business owners. So with that, like, how do you build relationships? And, that trust is a big thing in this industry. So how do you build trustworthy relationships with your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say, a lot of it is one, just, hitting the ball running and doing a good job up front, making sure, one, we're asking the right questions, and two, saying when we do something, we're going to do it. So if I say, hey, I'm going to follow up with you tomorrow, or I'm going to get back to you with some questions, you better actually do it. If you don't do it, you're going to lose trust, and they're going to end up going somewhere else. So, I'd say just doing what you say you're going to do and following up when you say you're going to follow up. And if there's something that, honestly, and, it happens with me sometimes, somebody will ask a question and I don't know the answer. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's okay just to say, you know what, that's a great question. Let me find that out. You don't want to ever say something if you don't know the answer.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's huge in building trust for sure. And as you mentioned before, like, small commercial can be very nuanced. So how do you kind of think through like the different points to discuss with your clients, like whether it's, the initial purchase or the renewal? Do you sort of have like questions or things that you kind of go through with your clients when it comes to just discussing their business operations?
Yeah, absolutely. So, before I even get into that question, I would want to highlight, my mentor and my boss, Mark, here at the agency. When I got into small commercial, I knew nothing. I knew, how to do home and auto. I knew how to do life insurance. I didn't know how to do small commercial at all. I didn't even know what questions to ask. And,
Sure.
when I first started, we did a lot of sitting together, and, he it made me very hands-on. So we'd sit in front of the computer. He'd be like, all right, what do you want to quote? And I'd be like, let's quote a handyman. He's like, okay, you're going to ask this, and that, and this is how you're going to do it. These are the things to look for. This is the, claims questions you're going to ask. So I've really taken that and ran with it, and have kind of just over time have developed like a mental list of things that I need to ask. So, if it's a contractor, for example, I know I got to ask about roofing. I got to ask how high in the air they're going. I got to ask if they have subcontractors. If it's a restaurant, I know, okay, like, are you selling alcohol? Are you doing any delivery? Are your workers cash workers where, that might be the case, or are you paying them W-2? So, a lot of it is really just practice over time. And now it's, thankfully I'm at a point now where, let's say I, have a new restaurant that's coming in. I can then make a mental note saying, okay, I got to ask this, and that, as opposed to, a contractor where the questions are totally different.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like tailoring them to the industry.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can, like I said, I can attain a lot of that to Mark he's been in the industry for about 40 years. So
Awesome.
I've been able to take a lot of that knowledge and be able to just kind of tailor it to my own approach.
That's great. I mean, I think two things you really hit on the nail on the head on is in terms of mentorship in this industry. I think again, a lot of those who are newer to whether it's insurance as a whole or small commercial definitely can attest to the fact that having a mentor, someone to really just show you the ropes, right? Like that's really all it takes. And once you get into it, you feel more comfortable. And then also, like you mentioned, then tailoring your approach to the specific industry. I think that's part of the course really, especially for small commercial, because to your point earlier, you could have two businesses, seem on paper seem very similar, but then when you really start to dig into those operations, they're a lot different. So those things are really important to get to. So really like taking a little bit of a pivot into more of the marketing aspect of insurance, whether that comes to like reaching your ideal customer or sourcing leads. What is your approach to the marketing of within the agency?
Yeah, so we kind of have a mix of things that are going on in the agency. One, each individual agent, we're involved in our own networking groups. So I'm involved with my local chamber of commerce. I'm an ambassador there. I'm part of a business networking group, BNI. So they have thousands of chapters all over the world, but in my chapter, there's only one commercial insurance person, only one person per industry. So that's been really great for my business. I joined that when I first started insurance and have been in it since.
Awesome.
Going out to different networking events, I personally try to get out to at least once a week. And then Jay, our operations manager, he's out there hitting the pavement, doing a lot of business development for us as well. So it's a plethora of ways. And then I'd say as well, we always make sure at the end of helping a client out, we say, hey, can you leave a good Google review, or can you, share some nice words about us online? We have, as of today, I believe 172 5-star reviews.
Amazing.
And it's funny, I actually have this on my cup right here. How'd you hear about Remco? He's always saying, make sure you ask that question. So I leave it right next to my phone. So if somebody's just calling in, say, hey, how did you hear about us? And we've had people that say, you have a lot of good Google reviews, or, so-and-so recommended you. So, I think we're doing a good job, and
Yeah, excellent.
we're just trying to do what we can.
Yeah. I mean, that really speaks volumes. I think, we talk about that a lot, even, at Coterie as a marketing team in terms of, your online reputation, like how big that is, especially in an industry where, someone could go to another agency or they could call another, the next, agency down the line. But
Mhm.
your, reviews, your online reputation, and then those referrals, right? I think that goes a long way. So definitely, I think attest to the service and just the great quality of, relationships that you've built. So that's a great job. Keep that
Right.
up.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then just thinking through, your growth, again, you mentioned like kind of coming into the industry during COVID. Where do you see yourself? Do you want to continue to grow within this industry? Like any, kind of aspirations on your end?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely see myself staying in the small commercial space, and maybe even grow into some of the larger things, some of the larger
Mhm.
commercial risks. But I just love this industry. I just love meeting new people. I love, seeing, like I said before, some of these businesses that you would have never known about unless
Yeah.
you're really in the, on the pavement talking with them. So I definitely see myself staying in it. I would love to, eventually maybe, run my own agency or maybe, be a part of Remco. So we're,
Mhm.
that's always an ongoing discussion, but I definitely see myself staying in the industry and
Awesome.
especially on the small commercial side.
Incredible. That's great to hear. And then what advice really would you give, someone who's maybe thinking about insurance or maybe they're, just getting into the industry? Any advice that you would give?
Yeah, I would say just keep an open mind. We have an intern right now, Matt, who's been with us for a few weeks now, and we're just really just trying to show him everything we can. He doesn't know if he wants to do sales or if he wants to do underwriting, but we're really just trying to show him every different aspect of insurance.
Yeah.
So I'd say if you want to get into the insurance industry, keep an open mind because
Mhm.
not a salesperson, totally fine. You can be an underwriter, you can be in customer service if you like to be out talking with people.
Yeah.
Sales is a great career as well. So there's a lot of different opportunity, and I'd say just try what you like, and worst comes to worst, you find something else.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. I think I can attest to that for sure. There's so many different avenues once you're in insurance that you can go with. I personally, again, I'm partial to marketing, but I just think there's so many different areas that you can go with, and then you can always pivot, right? I think that's the cool thing. And even, your background, excuse me, with being in the hospitality industry and then coming into insurance that gives you that unique, really service focused perspective. So I think that's definitely some great advice. Well, thanks, Carl. One last question. I always like to leave it on with a fun question. What's been you mentioned like being out networking and things like that. What's been like maybe your most fun experience that you've had, whether it's networking or just meeting with, a new business owner? Anything you fun that you can remember?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say this: there's a lot of different networking groups out
Mhm.
there, and you kind of have to pick one that fits your personality, and that can take a couple years. And we're part of a group now where it's one of our other agents on the team. He works very well with the real estate company, and they have their own networking group. And we went out to an event probably like 2 or 3 months ago at this point, and it was awesome. I mean, they really decked out this event. It was at a country club. They had seafood, a steak station. It was incredible, and I feel like in that type of environment, it's just very casual, very laid back. Like I feel like sometimes with networking, people are like, "Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
have to talk to somebody," or
Yeah.
I have to hand out my business card. It's just all about having fun at the end of the day, and that was just
Mhm.
such a cool event. And we've that company now is now one of our clients, and just from just being relaxed and just talking with people. So I'd say in terms of networking, just don't feel like it's this big scary thing. It's really not.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with that point. I think, one of the things I can remember about when I first came into this industry and coming to like maybe my first big insurance event is being a little bit, apprehensive, feeling like a fish out of water. But then you realize like agents and insurance folks and even small business owners, they just want to have fun and relax, and so just being, natural and having, great conversation and really just taking an interest in others, that is really one of the best ways to network. So I'm glad that you shared that, Carl. Thank you. So I would love for you to just share with our audience ways that they can get in contact with either you professionally or with Remco or both.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you want to call the agency, you can look us up online. Just type in Remco Insurance Services. We're the first people that come up. Um, And yeah, love to have a conversation. Of course, if you need help with insurance, happy to help, but also just happy to chat as well. Whether that's just a brief mentorship or just having a good conversation. Always open to meeting new people.
Awesome. Again, I really just want to thank you for your time today. It's been great just to hear your experience, and thanks for sharing your insights with our audience.
Absolutely.
And yeah, absolutely. So I look forward to connecting with you again. I know you do a lot of great things with Coterie. So thanks again and have a great day.
Absolutely. Appreciate your partnership. Have a wonderful day.
Coterie is continuously innovating to bring our partners and agents the best solution for their small commercial book of business. Check out our producer's resources page by clicking the link in the show notes below.